about the prompt that we looked at yesterday with regards to Crucible. Okay? And so specifically, I want us to kind of look at this prompt together. So if you have it up on your screen, you can look on it. If you can see it up here, that's fine. For those of you in B class tomorrow, you won't be able to see it up here, so you're going to have to pull your screen up. But I want us to look at this together so that we really understand what the prompt is asking. Because here's the thing with the AP test. First of all, on the AP test, because this is the 2015 AP test, so this is last year's AP test that they used. So anyone you know who graduated last year took this test. This is question number 3, and this is exactly what it looks like when they give it to you. So this is the same kind of question that you're going to be responding to when you take the test in May. You'll notice they give you a couple things with this prompt. They tell you this is question 3, obviously. They tell you your suggested time. You should spend about 40 minutes because the question is 1/3 of the total essay section, because you'll do 3 essays, about 40 minutes for each essay, because they give you 2 hours to do the essays. Okay? Then they give you this part here, which is the actual prompt that you're supposed to respond to. Here's the trick. So this is the question number 3, except notice what this prompt is distinctly lacking. What was that? A question. They don't actually ask you a question, because part of what they want to do is they want to know, can you decide what you're supposed to write about? Can you figure out what you're supposed to write about? So that's part of the actual essay process. They want to see, can you figure out what you're supposed to write about? So they're not going to ask you a question. It's tricky. It's what they do. The AP test is about finding out what you know. And part of what they're testing is, how well can you comprehend what you're being asked? Okay? So if you actually look at this prompt with me, in literary works, cruelty often functions as a crucial motivation or a major social or political factor. So what they're doing right here in this sentence is they're giving you background information. Okay, so this is where they're giving you context. And they're telling you what they're centering on. So what are they telling you they're centering on in this prompt? Cruelty, exactly, okay? And that's an important thing, okay? And it's a motivation, that's another big word there, not an actual big word, you know what I mean, for social or political factor. Okay, so this is going to be about social or politics. So select a novel, play, or epic poem in which acts of cruelty are important to the theme. So this is really the step 1 where they're asking you the question. So this is your first step. You've got to pick a novel, or play, or epic poem, and you guys know you all picked The Crucible because you had to, where acts of cruelty are important to the theme. Okay, so what they've told us there is what we're looking for. Then write a well-developed essay analyzing how cruelty functions in the work as a whole and what cruelty reveals about the perpetrator or the victim. This is really the question. Even though there is no question mark, this is the question. These are the actual directions that they're giving you to write about in your essay. Okay? And whether you realize or not, this question actually has 3 parts that they're looking at. They want to look at for you. They want you to look at for them. Excuse me. And then it tells you, you may select a work from the list below or another work of equal literary merit. Okay? You don't have to pick something on this list when it's the actual test. For me, you do, because we had to do the Crucible. And we'll talk a little bit more as the year goes on about what literary merit is and what's an equal literary merit, because we can't read Harry Potter, even though it's great stuff. It's clearly not AP quality. And we'll talk more about what AP quality means as we go along. And a very important thing, do not merely summarize the plot. They don't want you to recap the plot. Okay? Your test is going to be graded by college professors and experienced high school AP teachers who will know the books on the list and will probably know the book you're going to choose. You do not have to summarize it for them. Okay? They know it. But let's look at this part right here, because this is the important part that you're going to need to look at. Okay? It's actually asking you 3 things, whether you realize or not. The first thing it's asking you to do is to write a well-developed essay. Okay? And whether that's part of your grade. So part of when they're scoring you is you have to write a well-developed essay. That means you have to have an intro sort. It means that you have to have some kind of thesis statement. It means that you have to make sure that you're on point and that your essay is organized, okay, and that you have examples. And it means generally you should have a really short conclusion. And again, we'll talk about a little bit more about how to structure these essays as we go along. But this is a point. And you actually, your essay, really well-written essays that are well-developed, are going to do really well. Poorly developed essays, your score is going to start to go down for it. So this is thing one. So first thing you have to do is make sure you're writing a well-developed essay. The second thing that you need to do, I love having so many different colored markers, is you need to analyze how cruelty functions in the work as a whole. Whenever they say work as a whole, this is a code word. Work as a whole usually means theme, okay? So basically, in order to write this essay, you've got to look at how cruelty relates to the theme, okay? So you're going to want to make sure that some part of your essay talks about the theme. How many of you right now, how many of your essays mention theme in any way, shape, or form? Okay, you think, yeah. This is pretty typical because we don't think work as a whole theme, but that's really, again, this is why we break this down. Because when they say work as a whole, they mean theme, and they want you to talk about the theme. And what cruelty reveals about the perpetrator or the victim. And so this is the other part. You've got to explain what the cruelty reveals. So this is part 3. So basically, in a well-written essay, you've got to show what the cruelty reveals about someone and how that relates to the theme. So whether you realize or not, they really want 3 things out of you. Now, I'm telling you this because we are going to look at those essays you wrote yesterday. I know, don't freak out. You're going to get somebody else's essay. My hope is 2 somebody else's essays. Sorry, I forgot to grab my Post-its before I came over here. And yes, someone else is going to read your writing. Okay? And what you are going to do is you're going to get someone else's essay and you're going to get 2 Post-it notes to put on there. And on the Post-it note, the first Post-it note is your Post-it note. The second one will be for the other person. You're going to give them 3 suggestions that you think would make their essay better answer this question. Okay? So you can comment on the writing if it's not well written, if it seems like it's disorganized, if it seems like they've got a lot of mistakes in it, or it seems like they get lost in their own argument, or they don't have any examples, because you always want to make sure you have examples. They're not asking you to remember quotes and insert quotes in there. If you can, that's awesome, but they're not asking for that. They just want you to be specific and say, talk about when Proctor talks to Abby, blah, blah, blah happens, and this shows the cruelty. Or, you know, when the girls torment Mary as she's trying to confess the truth. That definitely reveals something about Abigail's character and the nature of cruelty. So they want you to do that kind of thing. So you can talk about how it relates to that. If they don't have anything about theme in there, you might want to put a little Post-it on there that says, hey, you really need to talk about the theme and tie the theme in here. You can talk about, you know, if they don't have any examples, phrase it positively, like specific examples would really help. Or you should really talk about the theme. Don't think, no, this sucks, or this is terrible, or you should go back to kindergarten. Like, none of those kind of things. I don't think any of you would do that, but just in case. If you see any grammar and mechanics errors as you're going, feel free to mark those. Circle words that are misspelled, or if you think there should be commas or they've done something like that, circle it so it's somewhere that they know to look at, okay? And then when you're done, find somebody to trade with so they will take over for the other Post-it note. Any questions?